Hello and welcome to The Kroger Show. At Kroger, everyone wins when it comes to saving big. Because when you order online through the Kroger app, you get the same great prices, deals, and rewards on pickup or delivery that you do in-store with no hidden fees or markups. So no matter how you shop, you'll always save big at Kroger. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Save big on your favorites with the Buy 5 or More Save $1 each sale. Simply buy 5 or more participating items and save $1 each with your card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Let's talk about it. The Georgia governor is being pressured to back DA Fani Willis. There's also a House Judiciary Committee. They launched a inquiry into DA Willis, and here to talk about why his organization and the organization that he represents is standing by DA Fani Willis. He is the president of the Georgia chapter of the NAACP, Mr. Gerald Griggs. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Monica. Looking forward to talking with you.
So let's jump right into it. You, the NAACP, on a local and national level, are backing DA Fani Willis. Why was there is there a need to come out and to publicly support DA Fani Willis and the indictments and having president? Well, she didn't have him, but she's responsible. Some many would say for him being arrested, mugshot, and the whole nine. Why is the NAACP supporting DA Fani Willis?
Well, let's be clear. The NAACP is supporting the rule of law in Georgia. And so as long as individuals are abiding by the law, we would support them in the pursuit of the law. In this case, in these allegations, there's an allegation of trying to subvert people's power to vote, particularly African Americans. And so we want the process to follow through. We have to remember that Fani didn't bring these charges. A grand jury indicted the individuals that are charged with subverting Georgia's election. And so we want to make sure the process is fair and equitable and it proceeds through under Georgia law.
Attorney Gerald Griggs live with us on 95.5 WSB. He is the president of the Georgia chapter of the NAACP. The headlines, the headlines have it, as he said, he broke it down that Fani Willis, MSNBC says Fani Willis takes the gloves off against Trump. Georgia Republicans are trying to remove her. So when you look at DA Fani Willis, she did her job. How do you feel about those who are coming out against her and death threats against her family? I guess she has even more security now. What is your message to those who are coming out against DA Fani Willis?
My message is to be true to the Georgia Constitution and the United States Constitution. The judiciary has individuals who are charged with upholding the law and making sure that individuals who allegedly break the law are brought to justice. So there's a process here. Georgia has had this process for over 200 years. Let's follow the process. For those that are trying to subvert the process, I would say read the Georgia Constitution and Title 17 and Title 16 before proceeding, because if you threaten a prosecutor, you can be charged with a crime.
Speaking of which, about 2 weeks ago, there's a lawsuit right now in the state of Georgia. 4 of the district attorneys are suing the state of Georgia over Senate Bill 92. I had 3 of them on. I had DA Sherry Boston from DeKalb County, also DA Flynn Brody Jr. from Cobb County, and I'm just going to say, I don't know that other county, but he was on as well. I can't even pronounce it. That county, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway,
yes,
so I asked, when I had them on, this was 2 weeks ago before all this came out. I asked, would DA Fani Willis be a case study for this bill, this law that Governor Brian Kemp and others signed into effect, meaning they can appoint a commission, which it looks like he's going to do. And if they don't like how DA Fani Willis ruled, they can remove prosecutors. As you look at it, is that law set up to remove DA Fani Willis? Could we be seeing that if something doesn't happen?
You may well be able to see that. Again, the legislative branch has the power to create laws, but the judicial branch has the power to not only enforce laws, but determine their constitutionality. So if they're removing her for just cause for something she's done that's against the law, then they would be on good legal standing. But if they're moving her for politics, I think the Georgia Supreme Court and ultimately Supreme Court of the United States of America will have a good conversation about the separation of power and whether or not this law is constitutional.
And so that was Senate Bill 92. Again, that lawsuit is still there. And it was DA Jonathan Adams who said this could be a case study. Before we let you go, coming on after you, we're talking to attorney Gerald Griggs. He's the president of the NAACP chapter in Georgia. There is a group that is going to be a big announcement tonight. There is a group you are backing, you said the law, and Fani Willis happens to be on the side of the law as you interpret it, backing her. But there is a group that they are coming out and they're going to announce on this show. I'm giving it away, but they're going to announce that it is a group that is going to ask Governor Brian Kemp to pardon President Donald Trump. And I'm looking at the clock right now. Hang on. If you can just hang on with me on the other side of the break, if you can be thinking about that. I 100% know that they're listening right now at this moment. So if you can think about that question, what is your message to those who are starting a group? They're raising former President Donald Trump's raising some great money. I want you to address them when we come back from the break. Can we do that?
Yes.
All right. You're listening to Milani Kai. We're talking to attorney Gerald Griggs with the NAACP. He's the president in Georgia. And I think I just hung up on him, Colby. I did. You guys are shaking your head. Yeah, I hope he doesn't take that any kind of way. He'll call back. I'll have him call back. And so when we come back from the break, that's him calling back. Yay, he didn't take it personally. So when we come back from the break, attorney Gerald Griggs is going to address the group. Like I said, big announcement. You heard it first here on Milani Kai. You're going to hear that. And so we're going to talk to attorney Gerald Griggs, who I just hung up on, but he's back on the line when we get back from the break. It is 8:21 on a Saturday evening. It's episode number 15 of Milani Kai. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to finish this conversation with attorney Gerald Griggs. He is the president of the Georgia chapter of the NAACP, and he is supporting, he corrected me, I said he was supporting DA Fani Willis, and he said he's supporting the law. So it's a big thing. There's for DA Fani Willis and against. And attorney Griggs still with us. Sorry for hanging up on you. You didn't take that personally, did you?
No, I didn't take it personally. I'm here.
Okay, so if you missed what he said before, you can go back and listen to that later after the show. But I want to wrap up with this question. There's coming on after you is a group, the organizer of a group who is, I don't think they have the name yet. It might be Pardon Trump for Georgia, something like that. But the idea is they want Governor Brian Kemp to pardon number 45, former President Donald J. Trump. They're listening to you right now. What is something you would like to say to them?
I would point them to 42-9-42 that gives the power to pardon and grant clemency only to the Board of Pardons and Paroles. So Governor Kemp cannot pardon anyone, only a majority vote of the Board of Pardons and Paroles. And the only time in Georgia things can be paroled is after 5 years after the sentence has been served. So I think they're putting the cart before the horse, and I think they're asking the wrong individual to try to do that under Georgia law.
Attorney Gerald Griggs, and one more thing I'll ask you before we let you go as the president of the NAACP. I did not see this, but someone said, hey, Milani Kai, can you ask him, did you know that when President Donald Trump's motorcade was coming through parts of Atlanta, which I'm assuming they said it to me because they were predominantly urban areas, that there were a lot of people on the streets chanting for free Donald Trump. I haven't seen it. I'm not saying it's not out there. Have you seen that or heard that, or did the person that told me that, a reputable person, are they making that up? Is that out there on social media?
I was watching the motorcade as it went down Joseph Lowry Boulevard. I didn't see anybody chanting free Donald Trump, except for the Blacks for Trump that were outside Wright Street, and many of them were not Georgia citizens. Here's the thing. Georgia is focused on the law. It's focused on the right to vote. It's focused on holding people accountable. I think that's what's going to happen in a Georgia courtroom, and ultimately the law will win out. If his lawyers are good, he will be set free. If his lawyers aren't good, he's going to be spending a lot of time in the Georgia Department of Corrections facility.
Attorney Gerald Griggs, the president of the NAACP chapter here in Georgia, and I did say I'm going to let you go, but it would be so totally wrong for me to not ask you. We're coming up on the 60th anniversary of the I Have a Dream speech. We'll hear some from Dr. Bernice A. King, some of her thoughts she shared with me a little bit later. How are you feeling about this moment in history? I say international history.
I think that Georgia's at the forefront of movement again, as it was 60 years ago. I think that justice will prevail, and I think ultimately the voice of Georgians will ring loudly with the voice of justice and freedom, as it did 60 years ago tomorrow in Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Attorney Gerald Griggs. Thank you so much. We'll look forward to having you back on and catching up with you and watching this all play out.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You're listening to Milani Kai. We are live. If you're just now joining us, that was Attorney Gerald Griggs with the NAACP Georgia chapter. He is the president. And I like to do this thing called Fair and Balance. I know there's a network out there that thinks they're fair and balanced, but I believe that Milani Kai is fair and balanced because I have that side on. So if you're supporting Fani Willis and you love what he had to say, I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk. But I like to have other sides on too. And coming up after news, traffic, and weather. You've heard his name before. He was the face of what was trying to become Buckhead City. He's been all over the place, from the New York Times to CNN to Fox News. He's been all over the place. But he's going to make an announcement right here on my show about a group that is supporting President Donald Trump. He actually is a personal friend of Donald Trump, and they want the president to be pardoned. So I don't know how any of that works. I heard what Attorney Gerald Griggs says. Bill White is going to join us after news, traffic, and weather. So thank you for joining us. Those of you on my Facebook Live page, it's MALANIKAI. I did not charge my phone, so I don't know how long that's going to go on. But many of you listening on the WSB radio app, many of you are just listening old school at 95.5 WSB or on WSBradio.com. from Metro Atlanta and around the country. So thank you so much. After news, traffic, and weather, don't you dare touch that radio dial. Don't you dare touch that app or however you're watching or listening to me. I am Milani Kai. We'll be back.
Yeah, this album is dedicated to all the teachers that told me I never amount to nothing. To all the people that lived above the buildings that I was hustling from, that called the police on me when I was just trying to make some money to feed my daughter. Yeah. And to all my peoples in the struggle, you know what I'm saying? It's all good, baby. Check. It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine.
All a dream. You're listening to Milani Kai. Speaking of a dream, we're live right now on 95.5 WSB Radio. We are coming up on the 60th anniversary of the I Have a Dream speech. Later on in the show, we're going to hear from Dr. Bernice A. King. I had a couple of sit-downs with her, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But right now, we're getting the other side of it. At the top of the show, we had on Attorney Gerald Griggs. He is the president of the Georgia chapter of the NAACP, and along with them and some other groups and clergy, they are supporting DA Fani Willis, as many people are calling for DA Fani Willis to be gone. The House Judiciary Committee launched an inquiry into her this week. The Georgia governor is being pressured to publicly back her, so there's a lot going on with the district attorney Fani Willis, age 52, originally from Inglewood, California. She's now the Fulton County DA. Joining us for the other side of those who don't support DA Fani Willis and who do not support President Donald Trump's indictments, number 45. You've seen him or you've heard him. If you haven't, he is Bill White. He was the face behind the movement for Buckhead City. He's appeared on network television all over the place. He's appeared on my show as well. He's been on WSB radio, and he is a personal friend of Donald Trump. And he's here he heard Attorney Gerald Griggs. He's here to drop some news and to let us know what's going on the other side. Mr. Bill White, thank you so much for hanging out with us on a Saturday.
Hello, Milani Kai. I hope you're staying cool, and everybody else out there is also watching temperatures and drinking a lot of water and staying out of the heat. Stay safe.
We're trying to, but I kind of feel like there's heat going on here in Georgia as a lot is going on. Heat's going on, but what's happening with it's a personal friend of yours, so you're not only invested personally, you're invested. Is it a personal reason why you're helping form a particular group, or are you looking out for as Attorney Gerald Griggs said, that their side is looking out for the law?
Yeah, so I'd like to address that, and I would love to have a straight up, honest debate with Mr. Griggs. I actually see it a different way. I actually did support Fani Willis when we were trying to get Paul Howard, the most corrupt DA in Fulton County history, out. He was prosecuting police officers for doing their job. And I wrote a check to Fani Willis, hoping that her promise to be something other than Paul Howard and not corrupt would come true. And so on the 60th anniversary of one of our greatest civil rights leaders this country has ever known, the Reverend Martin Luther King gave his famous I Have a Dream speech. I think he would be turning over in his grave with what he just heard from Mr. Griggs, because he also got his mugshot in Fulton County as well. And he got his mugshot because he was speaking truth to power, exercising his constitutional right of freedom of speech to say what he would like and to say what he believes as true. And they arrested him too. And so President Trump is innocent until found guilty. We believe that he will be innocent of all these charges. We know the jurors in Fulton County are wonderful human beings, Christian Judeo values, who will see through this as a political sham prosecution. And I can promise you, the real NAACP out there, like the California NAACP, has called upon city leaders across the country to declare a state of emergency on crime, to stop defunding the police, and to prosecute people who commit serious crimes. So I ask everybody listening, including Mr. Griggs, why is Fani Willis have a backlog of 250 murderers? One was 54-year-old contractor Chris Eberhardt, killed in Buckhead, and two was a 72-year-old grandmother, Ellen Bowles. Their murderers' trials have been put off because Fani Willis is prosecuting Donald Trump for his First Amendment right to speak what he believed was his truth to power, that the Georgia election was rigged in many cases, and we believe he was correct.
Hang on, Bill White. Hang on, Bill White. We want you to hang on, Bill. We want you to continue that thought. We've got to run to break real quick. We want you to continue that thought. And when we come on back on the other side of the break, Bill White are responding to one of the many people who are against DA Fani Willis and supporting his friend Donald Trump. We'll finish that conversation after the break. You're listening to
I have
Milani
something
Kai.
Big to tell you, Milani Kai.
Are you big? It's real big, right? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's do it. You're listening to Milani Kai. Don't touch that radio dial or app or whatever you're listening. Facebook, you're watching me live. We'll be back. It is 8:46. You are listening to Milani Kai live on a Saturday night. Thank you so much for listening wherever you're listening from. We're broadcasting live from the great city of Atlanta, Georgia. We started off the show with NAACP Georgia Chapter President Attorney Gerald Griggs supporting DA Fani Willis. If you're been under a rock, she's in all over international news. Some say she's responsible for former President Donald Trump being getting a mugshot and being arrested in Atlanta this week. Now we have the other side of it. On the other side is a personal friend of President Donald Trump, number 45, and he is also has some really big news. You are against what DA Fani Willis is doing, and you have some big news. Bill White is with us.
Yes. Hi, Milani Kai. I was really thinking about this over the last couple of days, watching this 50-car motorcade and Secret Service and, 50 Atlanta PD cops having to escort President Trump to be arraigned on charges based on him speaking his First Amendment freedom of speech rights, right? So what we're doing understanding the statutes very well in consultation with our attorneys, we are forming a group to call for the pardon of President Trump in the state of Georgia. It would require an amendment to the statute or a board change to the folks that Governor Kemp puts on the Georgia Pardon Board. And we believe that we will achieve 100,000 signatures of Georgians who believe in what we're doing. We have raised over $285,000. And that's on top of what President Trump received in contributions for the biggest political backfire in history of Fani Willis taking that mugshot. He raised $7.5 million in 24 hours. And so what we're talking about doing, which is very important, is to give President Trump a chance to run for re-election and let the people decide. What Fani Willis and Alvin Bragg and Joe Biden are doing right now is trying to interfere with the election by trying to smear Donald Trump. And it's going to backfire just like taking that mugshot was. And I predict, unlike Mr. Griggs predicted, which I can't believe, that a lawyer who represents the great NAACP was excited to say that he thinks President Trump is going to serve the rest of his life in jail. What a disgrace to say that on Martin Luther King's anniversary of I Have a Dream. That is not I Have a Dream. That is I have contempt and hatred in my heart, and we don't have that. We have African Americans supporting Trump. They were lining the streets. He's kidding you. Blacks for Trump. They were there too. But hundreds of great Atlantans came out screaming free Trump, and I'll send you all the videos because I have hundreds of them. And so what we're doing, we believe we will affect change and bring to the political forefront so that Governor Kemp, who appoints these board members, will understand what the people of Georgia want is for President Trump to run free and clear of these indictments and run as a candidate against Joe Biden like he would without these, and let the people decide. That's how it should go.
Bill White announcing on Melania Kai tonight, you heard it in the 8 o'clock hour, that there is going to be a group that is going to be supporting. It sounds like you're calling out Governor Brian Kemp.
Well, let me tell you one thing, Melania Kai, and I don't want to go back to Buckhead City because we're going to come back to that when Brian Kemp is out of office. But let me explain to you the story of Eliana Kovich. It'll take 2 seconds. So she was a 5'4" pediatric nurse who was brutally attacked with her boyfriend at the Buckhead Mercedes-Benz. Now, after this horrible attack by a repeat felony offender who attacks women, he had a knife, he hit a woman in the Bronx with a gun, he was just out from Clayton County attacking women there. Fani Willis, during this Trump witch hunt, literally fired her as a victim, that she was asking too many questions, and told her she did not want to represent her anymore in the crime of her attack in Fulton County. And what she said was that she's very busy with important cases. So guess what? How come these 250 murderers aren't being tried and Donald Trump is? How come she's firing this beautiful nurse for her case of being brutally attacked in Fulton County? This is what we would like to know, and we'll get to the bottom of that.
Bill White, he is not, obviously, you heard him, he's not for what DA Fani Willis is doing, has obviously is helping form a group, and it sounds like they're calling Governor Kemp out. To correct, the bottom line is this group that is being formed, as you announced tonight, would like President Donald Trump to be pardoned.
Yeah, and Melania Kai, if I could add something important, you mentioned Governor Kemp, and it is true. I'm not on here to attack Governor Kemp, but let me tell your viewers something. For the district attorney to be able to try a case about matters that occurred at the Georgia State Capitol, it is statute that the Georgia Capitol Police run all prosecutions related to anything that happened in the Georgia Capitol. So for the Capitol to release itself from that prosecution and hand it over to Fani Willis, only Governor Kemp could have signed off on that. So he is involved in the prosecution of President Trump, and everybody hearing my voice should understand that.
Bill White, before we let you go, thanks for coming on to give that side of it. The world lost a great game show icon today, Bob Barker, at 99 years young. Another personal friend of yours, so condolences to you and those who knew him. What are your final thoughts?
Bob Barker, World War II Corsair fighter pilot, one of the great supporters of PETA, and one of the great supporters of our nation's veterans. He donated $3.5 million to the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund when I was there. And I will just say he's one of those of a generation we have to get back to, where you can be on either side of the aisle, which he was, and we could all agree, sometimes to disagree and sometimes to come together. We have to get back to the generation of Bob Barker. And let me say one thing in honor of him. Any contribution that you'd like to make supporting Donald Trump in his effort to win re-election, I can tell you this, the price is right. So make your donation and make it in honor of him. But we remember Bob Barker for being one of the great patriots and my good friend.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing, and I'm a professional. You threw that in there? That was gangster, Bill White. That was gangster. Bill White.
We love you, Melania. And let's have a dinner with Mr. Griggs. I think we can find some commonality. Maybe we'll have an argument before the commonality, but I'm open to a debate with him.
Absolutely. I'll set that up. Bill White, thank you so much. Attorney Gerald Griggs on before.